Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb? What? Pink Floyd, Mother. Hey everybody, welcome to the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday discussion show. You probably saw by the title, but little hint there for audio purposes. We're talking about mothers in Star Wars today. More specifically, their role or impact in their kids' journeys, those characters' journeys in the Star Wars saga. You might remember last year, I think it was roughly around last summer, we did the impact that the role of fathers have on the journey to the dark side. Today, we're kind of just talking about the mother's impact overall on the characters' journeys in Star Wars. And, we don't pre-convene to talk about this, so we'll see where that conversation takes us per usual, but that'll be our main discussion later on in the show. But before we get going here, John, Lacey, James here with you in the Resistance base. So first of all, we're really glad to have you. If you're new to TRB, welcome. And before we get going, just want to say hello to you two. How are you? James, you got a little R2-D2 shirt on. Lacey, you look like, I was going to say, you look like you were a part of your chair for a second.
I am wearing the same color as my chair. I've noticed that now. Even with the kind of wash look. No, I'm wearing a Star Wars.
You have a hunchback. It's like keeps coming up.
Yeah, because the weird shape.
Right. You and I have the same chair.
Mm-hmm. Someone pointed that out once on an episode, being like, "Did Lacey and John have the same chair?" Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Fun fact.
But James, what shirt is that? Is that I know it's R2, but is that
it's R2-D2? Yeah. I actually don't know how I got it, but it's just a full front,
And it looks like a concept hand drawing or something like that.
It is kind of like a hand drawn.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sort of.
I'm wearing our No Moon shirt, which is currently unavailable, but who knows? Maybe it will make a return one day. But anyway, we have a really cool show here for you. Before we get going, just want to say, if you love what we do here at TRB, you're listening to our three voices or you're seeing our three faces, what you get from us, no matter whether it's the Mando fan show, all the other, the 1 minute shorts we're doing, all the other extra videos we put out on the YouTube channel, all the other extra podcast stuff, all the stuff at the events, it's the three of us do it all. And your support allows us to do it and allows us to put the time in, put the effort in, put the work in, because we do work really hard to make this show and everything we do as good as we possibly can, because we love it and we care about it, and also we know how much you appreciate what we do. So if you do love what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It's our real major source of support. Tiers start at $2 a month. You can pause the episode now and check it out, or after the show, but just know the link is patreon.com. That's patreon.com/resistance broadcast, and check it out. We have several tiers. They start at $2 a month. That's it. And immediately if you do that, boom, you get access to everything we do. Exclusive videos. We put out exclusive mini episodes every week. We do live broadcasts that are exclusive for Patreon. We have movie commentaries. We're going to be doing one, I don't know if we'll do it before Celebration, but hopefully as soon as we can, on Revenge of the Sith coming up soon, which will also be a live stream first. A lot of stuff. We have a Discord server. I mean, it goes on and on. Check it out for yourself. And if you do feel like, you know what, I want to support these three, we really appreciate it. Again, tiers start at $2 a month. Each tier you go up, you get more perks, benefits, rewards. We have mailings. I mean, boy, we could go on about that, but we want to make sure we say thank you in that way by creating this additional content for your support. And you supporting us allows us to grow and keep doing what we're doing now. So from the three of us, thank you very much. Patreon.com/resistance broadcast. So we're bringing back a segment. I'll let James tell you what it is. We haven't done it in a long time. So, Mr. Bainey, what's going on, pal?
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
It's really funny. Last week I said we're doing Will of the Force and it's back. We do it every week. So I think that kind of got something in your head, John, because this week we're doing One with the Force. We're switching it up. This one, truthfully, is back, baby, right?
Right.
We have not done this one in a little while. I don't know why we tend to do Will of the Force more often, but One with the Force is so much fun because it really makes you think, really makes you get down to that, like, if I had to choose, I would choose one of these three. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to get started here with this first one, which was, it might even be the toughest of the questions we've gotten in a while. But let's start off with name one Jedi who never turned to the dark side that you think would be the easiest to turn to the dark side. So John, you've had a little bit more time with this one. What are you thinking? What's your answer?
I actually forgot to like,
come up with one.
But I think I have an answer, and you guys are going to think it's a joke answer, but it's not. It is Ki-Adi-Mundi. I think if he stuck around long enough, he would have. I think he would have been jealous as he sees more people leapfrogging him in the pecking order. He's been around a long time. He still has the same chair. A lot of people have become higher in the ranks. Anakin was probably going to pass him. Obi-Wan was going to pass him. Qui-Gon. And he kind of defended Dooku a bit, which was out of line in my opinion because it turned out being incorrect. He said he's a political idealist, not a murderer. Well, guess what? He was a murderer. What do you think about that, Jack? So Ki-Adi-Mundi is my pick. A little sketchy. I'm kind of glad he got taken down.
Lacey.
I'm going to pick Yaddle.
Are you also going Ki-Adi-Mundi? No.
No, I'm going to pick Yaddle.
Oh.
Because she would get annoyed at all the attention Yoda gets. Like, why is Yoda the guy everybody goes for? I don't get it. Like, I'm green too. I matter too. And then George Lucas hates her. So she hears that. She's like, what the hell? You're the one that created me and you hate me. So, Yaddle.
Very meta. I like
You're welcome.
So I wasn't entirely positive on this one. So I went looking it up and I didn't see anything that said that this Jedi did in fact ever go to the dark side. So my answer is going to be Sifo Dyas. Sifo Dyas was a good kid who was kind of caught up in a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Jedi, and he wasn't really sure he trusted it. So he kind of went behind their back to help protect the Jedi Order by setting up the clone army. And when that stuff started happening, Palpatine and the Sith kind of got word of what was going on, and they like took him out. But I also think that he was very close, like if not the closest person within the Jedi Order to Count Dooku, who it didn't take much to push him in the direction of the dark side. And Count Dooku's arguments were always like, oh, if Qui-Gon were still around, he'd be with me, he'd be on my side, I would have been able to convince him. So even more so than Qui-Gon, I think Sifo Dyas probably would have went with him on, yes, build the army, do this. The Jedi don't know what they're talking about. So I don't think Sifo Dyas ever went to the dark side. I think he was killed by the Sith, but I think he was starting to turn anti-Jedi, anti-Order. So
all right,
I'm gonna take that one. All right, next question. Here we go. If you had the power to guarantee that one of these legacy characters appears in a future Star Wars movie with Rey and Finn, etc., you know what I mean, episode 10 kind of thing, which one would you lock in? Here are the three choices: Chewbacca, R2-D2, or C-3PO. All right, Lacey, you're first on this one. Out of those three, who's the one?
Probably Chewbacca, because Rey needs a co-pilot. And she can't fly the Falcon on her own. So I would say Chewbacca.
All right. That's a good answer. All right. John, what are you thinking?
Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer. Good answer. You
guys I've been watching a lot of Game Show Network lately during work. I've been getting back into like Deal or No Deal. Howie Mandel tweeted me and said he wanted to come back and do it. That was very
Howie,
exciting.
come on the
but-
podcast.
My favorite game show, Gold Case. John won't get that reference.
Cool. It's that one.
Yeah, it's that one.
Meghan Markle, I think, was on. Wasn't she on Deal or No Deal? She was one of the case people.
Maybe. But also, I've been watching a lot of the old Family Feuds, the Steve Harvey ones. And it's always entertaining.
Family
Can I-
Feud. My buddy Ruben did the warm up for that. He's the best.
Can I also go off on a small tangent on Deal or No Deal? Have you ever seen the arcade game Deal or No Deal?
Maybe.
Yes,
Like,
I love that. Yes,
kinda
you
move
have
it
to
and you
get
can select the
tickets.
box?
Yes.
Okay. I went to the thing and I was watching it and I was like, okay, so they show you where it is and then they go like
Shuffle game. Yeah.
they're doing the boxes, right? And I was like, so it's obviously moving too fast. No one's going to be able to see it. However, I have this iPhone that has slow motion. So I recorded it.
You're such an. Oh my God.
Hold on. I recorded it, watched it back in slow motion, and followed the box. They're lying. The game was cheating. It's
you were cheating and they got you.
No, I understand, but like they make it seem like, hey, we're gonna mix them up, so keep your eye on it. But it does not matter. They're lying to you. They're putting it in a different box.
Deal or No Deal never even did that. Why didn't they just show the 20?
The video
game.
But what's the point of doing that? Why not just say, here's the cases, pick one.
Because it makes you feel like you have more of a chance than just random cases.
I hate when they change things from how they really are.
It's a fun game.
Gosh,
I always
John,
play it in the arcade.
It's just the arcade version of a game. How do you...
Exactly, just do that.
I know,
but
there's probably a reason they can't do that. So...
Because then you got people like James like, I'm really going to get him this time.
No,
I always play that game if I'm in an arcade, the Deal or No Deal.
John, who are you picking?
James goes, get out of here.
That and the big fish wheel with the big lever to get tickets.
James has kicked me out many times.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lacey has a good point with Chewie.
Need
Although
a co-pilot.
I figure once Rey and Poe get married, they would just pilot it together.
Oh my God. You just made quite the claim, Mr. Hoey, that you think...
No, Poe's dying in episode 10. We all know that.
Plus, I'm pretty sure Rey's getting with Din Djarin, right?
Apparently.
Yeah, Rey Din.
Until I say we're done.
We're gonna
her
get a
American
panel.
accent was crazy, by the way. I was like, is that her?
It didn't
is
sound
her.
like her. Yeah.
No, yeah, but it is her.
Wait, you're
Yeah.
saying Raiden is their like couple name?
That's I named it. Yeah, I'm gonna do a panel at the next celebration.
I don't think so.
Is that Raiden?
It's my Raiden.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna go with R2D2 because I feel like that's his closest opportunity to come back in live action. Where Chewie, I still think we can get some Han and Chewie stuff.
Mhm.
C-3PO, I love, but for some reason I feel like
But the
R2D2.
question was future Star Wars with Rey, Finn, etc., not Han Solo.
No, but what I'm saying is Chewie will have an opportunity to do stuff with Han, so I can get my Chewie that way.
Okay.
But R2, I feel like got a little bit of a raw deal in the sequel trilogy. We didn't get enough like R2 being R2, so I think seeing him be back at it, more of in the front and center, being kind of a wise guy, would be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna say R2.
I was gonna initially say R2 as well, but I put too much on. I feel like it would be hard to have R2 and not C-3PO. Like, how do you have this live action movie and R2D2's in it, and for some reason C-3PO is just like not around? Like, I feel like it would be a glaring omission.
Loophole, James. Loophole.
Yeah. So
because if you lock in R2, they're gonna bring in C-3PO.
Oh yeah, whatever. But that's why I'm choosing Chewbacca, because I think like if you give me Chewbacca, then that's fine, and he can be around and he can be on these adventures and stuff, and you don't necessarily have to explain what happened to the droid. So I'm going Chewbacca on that one. Although I am interested in Lando and Chewbacca adventures too. I kind of have a feeling
that would be cool.
They
Yes.
hang out as well. So
Chewbacca.
All right, next question is, what is the one thing you are most excited about for Star Wars Celebration? John, you're first on this.
Only one thing?
One thing.
I think the aspect of the conversation, just being with fellow fans and talking about Star Wars, and being able to do it. You know, obviously we do it on the podcast, but just like seeing other people that and sharing a beer with someone and just talking fun about Star Wars, those are some of my best takeaways from our first celebration. So, while I am excited about the big stuff, like the reveals and the panels and seeing, actors and that sort of stuff, I think just like being with fellow fans and just being able to like let loose about this thing without being called like nerdy, and everyone just understanding how much you love it. And there's something about that in-person exchange you could have with somebody that's not able to be replicated online, where you could say like, yeah, you know what, I didn't like, Attack of the Clones or something. They'd be like, oh, that's all right. Whereas online it'd be like, oh my God, you're the worst. So there's something really special about being able to converse with people in person at Celebration. It's a really fun aspect of being there. I like the conversation you can have with people about it.
Lacey?
Again, this is a hard question for me because there are so many things I'm excited about, but probably just the meeting of other fans. Like, there's so many people, and you guys that are listening and watching, that we've discussed things online, or you've talked to me in the comments. So just getting to meet you guys, it's been a crazy 2 years for a lot of people, for me too, with a lot of like ups and downs. So it's just nice to know that I'm finally going to be at an event with other fans where we get to like be face to face and enjoy being in a great event where the energy is like a positive thing and everyone's excited to be there. But yeah, probably like the meeting of other fans.
I think, yeah, we're all our answers are so very similar. They all have to do with like actually interaction with these people,
Because we've been missing it for so long. Everyone's been so isolated for like 2 years. I
think like when I was at Celebration, there was that aspect of like, oh my gosh, on the stage right now, Jon Favreau, you know what I mean? He's like a celebrity and he's like really there. He's really in person. But I actually had more of an impact when I was walking around and having discussions with other Star Wars creators that I've seen, that I've kind of followed. And I think because maybe there was some sort of connection there, disconnect between like Jon Favreau, like, I'm 100 feet away from him, you know what I mean? Or something like that. It's like, I'm not talking to him or something, but like, I found myself constantly pinching, like being like, oh my gosh, it's so-and-so from that website. Oh my gosh, that person, you know what I mean? I've watched a lot of their videos. It's so weird because every time I'm turning around, I'm seeing these people that are popping out of my computer or TV screen, and it's not just the celebrities. It's like the people that I feel like I could walk up and actually have a conversation with. And I feel like that was very, I don't know, it like sticks in my head. It's like one of the takeaways from Celebration. Like, I can't believe we were doing this and this and this with these people. Cause I don't know, in a lot of ways, like you don't even think they know you exist, and they were thinking the same thing. Like they're like, oh my gosh, it's James from Resistance Broadcast. And I'm like, that's weird, but it's like, we're meeting and we're talking and we're real people. We're not just watching each other's videos. So I think that there was something very special about that too. And I think that's going to carry over into like specifically our patrons and stuff, like we've had so many conversations with some of these people in our chats and other live videos and stuff we've done for Patreon, that now seeing those people are just going to be the same thing. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, how are you really here?
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Let's do this last one here before we get into the discussion. Star Wars is funny. We know that, right? But with Attack of the Clones,
was Star Wars.
It's let's call it funny. Yeah, no. With Attack of the Clones celebrating its 20th anniversary, what is the funniest moment from the movie itself? Lacey, you get to go first. What is your funniest moment in the movie?
I stand by my what was the countdown Kessler run we had? like unintentionally funny moments.
Oh, sure.
I stand by my pear floating, cutting fork scene. It's not romantic, it's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like weirdly funny because it's like a little too long, so I'm gonna stand by that.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. John, what do you have? Is yours kind of unintentionally funny or actually funny for the sake of humor?
I don't know that it's like laugh out loud funny, but it's like a very throwaway line that some people like gloss over, and it's very earthy in that Obi-Wan asks to be patched into like the Jedi Masters, and he says care of the old folks home. I just think that's funny that it's Obi-Wan taking a dig at like the older Jedi, and he says the old folks home. I just thought that's like it just feels very like earthy to me, but I always thought that was pretty funny because I was trying to think of like something zanier. Like I think like really the funniest thing in Attack of the Clones is, this might be my real answer, is Frank. Now that I'm thinking about it, Frank, like remember I said like this might have been on the countdown too, Lacey, our Kessel Run, but like picturing Frank Oz in an ADR booth doing Yoda's like as he's fighting Dooku. That might be the funniest part in Attack of the Clones, knowing Frank Oz had to do that in a studio.
Yeah, I too kind of had like an unintentionally funny moment, but I have a real one. The unintentionally funny was just all the scenes from the when they're in the meadow, because that turned into that meme where like Anakin's like looking at Padme and they're doing the thing.
And then she's like, huh? And
now
like,
kind of like unintentionally funny. That scene's kind of funny. But actually in the movie, like intended humor, I think the funniest line is when they're locking up Anakin in the Geonosis arena and he says, "We came here to rescue you." And Obi-Wan looks at him and he looks up at his shackles and goes, "Good job."
Yeah. Yeah.
"We came here to rescue you." And he's like, "Good job."
And then he gives him a little bit of a scowl after. He's like,
really does. Yeah. Like, I just love his delivery on that because it's so obvious. Like it cuts back to Anakin and he's like, I know. So
meanwhile, inside he's just like boiling with anger. He's like, I'm gonna kill you one day.
And that's after Padme's like, "You're not a master or something. You're a Padawan learner." That's the most awkward moment of the movie.
That's like the Scott's tots of Star Wars. Actually, Anakin's not a master. Excuse me. No, excuse me. He's like,
how much of the story would have changed if that was the moment when he just choked her?
I was gonna say, imagine a Mustafar. He's like, "Who's the master now? Huh? You like that?" Oh, all
right.
God,
well,
Anakin.
Maybe not the best moment, but maybe a good place to end that is kind of talking about Padme, thinking about Padme as we move into our discussion. John, you want to take us into the next section? That's it for One with the Force.
All right, our discussion this week, more of the serious side, but I'm sure there'll be some lighthearted moments in this. But we've done fathers before, but now it's time with Mother's Day just around the corner. Star Wars, the mother's role in characters' journeys.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
So, Star Wars often focuses heavily on the relationship between fathers and sons. Vader and Luke, Han and Ben. Less direct versions like Qui-Gon and Anakin, even Owen and Luke, so to speak. But mothers play significant roles in the Star Wars saga, directly or indirectly influencing the makeup of some of our favorite characters and their journeys, for good and for bad. So let's talk about the mothers of Star Wars and the roles they play in character journeys. I kind of just came up with this because I did think about the fact that Mother's Day is in a few weeks. Lacey, you're a new mom, and just I feel like Star Wars usually always focuses on the father stuff, mainly because of the big shadow cast by the whole Darth Vader thing and that.
You mean they just murder the moms?
They murder the moms, right? But not many people discuss the relationship between the mothers and their kids in Star Wars. So I thought that'd be a good thing for us to dive into and see what we come up with. Obviously, the one that kicks it all off from a story timeline perspective is Shmi Skywalker being a single parent, bearing and raising Anakin by herself. Not really being saddled with the burden of his turn to the dark side because he loved her so much and she loved him so much. But an example, and I'll just start it there, and we can take it to all the different versions and characters. But the fact that Shmi did everything right and everything she could do for Anakin within the means that she had. They were slaves; she could only do so much for him, but. I like the fact that George Lucas didn't make it a situation where she was a part of what gave him anger. It was his situation in life that sort of started giving him anger. Like, I'm a person, I'm not a slave, and that wasn't Shmi's fault. She did the best she could to love this kid, and you saw the good in him come out through her teachings to him, and she was even looking at him almost inspired by like the things he would say and how he's trying to help Qui-Gon and all them and stuff like that, and her saying like he can help you, and she always believed in him. So I think that's a good place to start because Anakin being the chosen one and Shmi not really understanding all of that, she just thought she had this good boy, but she saw something special in him. But the fact that she did everything the right way, and I think all the good that we saw in Anakin came from her. So even though he turned to the dark side based on his environments and events that happened thereafter and the manipulation of Palpatine, I think Shmi was definitely a big part of this whole prophecy thing. The pregnancy alone, obviously without a father, being the chosen one, whatever, but also like she shaped him into being this good person and giving her everything that she was.
Yeah, I think it's tough for me thinking about Shmi because she did everything she thought was right, and then other variables and elements played into how Anakin ended up. And I think it's heartbreaking in the sense of she sacrificed so much for him to get to the Jedi training and to do, like, it's hard enough saying goodbye to your kid for the day, like, oh, have a good day. And it's like hard. Yeah. So I can't imagine being like, go off and live your life. I don't know if I'll ever see you again. Don't turn around and look at me. Keep walking forward.
Don't look back. Yeah. Like, especially a kid that young.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's so heartbreaking. And I think we're going to see this a lot in this conversation, John, where it's heartbreaking. Like, these moms go through so much and sacrifice so much. And like I kind of joked at the beginning, but like, they either die or get murdered. Like every mom in Star Wars. Yeah. Within reason, or like something terrible happens to them. And it's tough. It's tough looking at Star Wars as a mom now when you're like, let me look to see what kind of moms there are and stuff. Like, I guess Hera would be the mom that probably is the most like, okay, she had a happy ending with her kid. And like, she ended up in a good spot. But at the same time, lost the father, so it's not perfectly happy, but at least her and the child have a great relationship. It's not like giving up their kid for training or for some type of crazy psycho who's trying to kill them, or giving up their own life force. We only know
up to a certain age with
right.
And that's probably why Mon Mothma didn't die, because she wasn't Mom Mothma.
I actually even think like it's such a strong trope, Lacey, and I don't even, I kind of wish that I would have had enough time to talk with my old book discussions partner, Kyle, because he brought this up on a couple different books. Like, I don't understand why Star Wars always does this to moms, and that was like, him bringing it up was like the first time I'd really kind of considered how often it does happen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much to the point where like it's very hard to find a mom that doesn't have some sort of.
Oh my god, I thought Jin's mom too. I forgot about her, Lyra.
Yep. Yeah. Like the mom dies early, and the child or the like the father like have to deal with that death, you know. I mean, we could sit here and name them, you know what I mean? Like it just,
I think
on and
to
on
me,
and on.
Yeah, to me, consistently in Star Wars, the mother represents love, like unconditional love, comfort, softness, like caring. And a lot of these kids, their mom dies and they lose that relationship, that element of the parental child thing of like like no questions asked. I love you no matter what. I'm going to support you. I'm here for you. And then the kids left to pick up the pieces and figure it out on their own. I think oftentimes that's what we see with characters like Luke, Jin, Rey. So when you look at the mom character, you're like, you can't help but feel a little sad, or like the tragedy of it where they don't have that figure in their life to support them. And you can't help but wonder how the character would change if they did have that support. Whereas at the same time, though, you see someone like a Ben Solo who had a mother like that, or maybe not even, I guess I changed my thought as I'm saying it. Leia maybe wasn't the most comforting, loving, supporting mother, and he went a different direction, whereas that's what he needed again, and she didn't give it to him in the way that she wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to
parallels
mention
between Shmi and Leia. I'll get into that in a minute, James. Go ahead. I
was just going to mention too that I think there is canon reference to Hera also kind of off-putting her son as well when the war,
putting the war,
when it's still happening and stuff. Because I think when we see the end of Rebels, that's like, oh, the war is over and like everything's happy. But like during that period where Kanan's not around and Ezra's gone and Sabine and Ahsoka are probably missing too, you know, it's like, or actually I don't know where they're at this time, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, like, I think there is canon stories where she's like, she has kind of left him and is abandoning him emotionally as well. So it's like, even that stuff is going on. I would think like from like, cause I have a little bit of the book background, the canon book stories. I'd say like the most opposite story we've gotten so far where like the dad died and there was like the mom raising the child, and that relationship would probably be maybe, but I was going to say Nora Wexley having lost her husband and then now is trying to raise Snap, you know, to be a good person, but she's off fighting the war and he's like becoming his own into his adulthood. And as you watch their relationship go through the 3 books and how Wedge gets brought in as like this secondary father figure and stuff, it is such a good story that is so different from Star Wars because the mother is at the core of the story there, trying to raise the kid and trying to understand and be there for the kid. I think Hera's story is similar to that, but we just haven't really seen it yet.
Right.
But those Aftermath books are basically like, that's the center of the story, is Nora Wexley and her son being kind of like involved in her life and sort of not being involved. So I'd say if you're interested in that type of story, the motherly story, that's probably the best example I can think of right now in canon Star Wars.
Right.
The Leia thing's tricky because, when I said the parallels between her and Shmi, and then you think about the fact that, Shmi is her grandmother, and, Shmi let Anakin go and be with the Jedi, and she thought that was the best thing for him. And like we were saying, I can't even imagine letting my kid go off to somebody else. And so you're having faith in your kid just as much as you're having faith in the person you're putting your kid in their watch over.
Their well-being,
so,
yeah.
But Leia doing the same thing, but to a lesser degree, because she's sending Ben off to be with her brother. So it's probably maybe an easier move, but at the same time, like, it's that whole hindsight's 2020. What if she didn't? Would his powers still have been too much for him, and he would have had to have figured that out somewhere? So she's probably like, who better than my brother? So ultimately, you have to say she made the right choice, because his connection with the Force was inherent, and it was there, and something had to happen with it. So it was either not do anything and let someone else grab hold of him first, or who knows what takes hold of him with those powers. And we saw Rey having a hard time trying to understand her powers before she got to Luke too. So
No mother
the fact
or
that
father.
yeah, right. And so the fact that people say, "Oh, I can't believe Leia let him go," and that sort of thing, like that's a tough thing. I don't blame Leia for that. And like you see Han and Leia talk about it in The Force Awakens, and you see that they're both sort of grieving as to what happened. We lost our son, and they're blaming each other for it. And they said, we did the best we could. We went back to the only thing we knew. And but I don't blame Leia for what happened to Ben Solo. I think
I don't think anybody really does, but
yeah, but you can see how it's that thing, like, well, you let your son go, and you just believe that just because Luke Skywalker was Luke Skywalker, that everything was going to turn out okay, and it didn't. But I see, in other words, I'm saying there's parallels there between her and Shmi, because they both let their kids go, but it was an easier choice, in my opinion, for Leia to do it, because it was Luke Skywalker, versus Shmi saying, I don't know who these guys are. I've heard that the Jedi are good. I don't want him to be a slave. Make a better life for him, because he's always dreamed about doing these things.
mm-hmm.
So she, like, it was almost like you release, you have your kid on the training wheels come off the bike, and you let go of the bike for the first time. And that's like what Shmi's doing. Whereas Leia, it just felt like, we got to do something, because we know the history here.
Mm-hmm.
We got to hope that Luke's going to take care of it. So there
I
are
wonder
parallels.
if we're going to get that story of what happened that drove her to be like, you know what, you're going to Uncle Luke's. Because there had to be some incident where something happened, or...
Well, don't forget, she was training with Luke, and she stopped because she had a vision that if she kept doing it, she would lose her son. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are some things that you could begin to piece together what that might have looked like. Is she already had so much love for her son that she was like gonna back away from the training, but then if not her, then maybe he should do the training. I think that, we don't know, but like I'm saying, there could be something to that story of like, she stopped, and then why did she let him continue?
Right. Yeah. So Leia, like, I like that they bring that stuff up, because you can see that she did everything she could to try to make the right decision. And even when as a parent, I know, like, I do things like, if I get mad at my son, I'm like, why did I just do that? Or, you're always, or why do I worry about him getting hurt so much? And, you're always trying to do the right thing, and you're like, don't touch that. And then what do? They touch it. Don't touch that thing. Oh, I want to go touch that thing. You're always trying to do the best you can, because you want to, make your kids safe and make sure they're okay, and help them learn and grow and all that stuff. And parenting is tough, and you're going to make mistakes. But I like that they showed us that Leia was trying to at least do the best she could for him. And that's a great example, James, in terms of her giving up that aspect of things because of that sort of vision or dream she had. But then, there's mothers who didn't get to fully be mothers, and like, Padme, for example, and she was, for without question, a mother, because she was carried those twins, and throughout that whole time protected them. We're talking about a very war-torn time. She's a high-priced target, so to speak, a big name. She could have been killed many times during all of that. Was what was happening with the fall of the Old Republic, or fall of the Republic at the time. So like that, like, I don't think, like, I know that they have I haven't read the Padme novels. I don't know if they touch on the aspect of more of her during the time where she was pregnant with the twins, but even just in Revenge of the Sith alone, just her trying to keep things together, and understanding that her realizing she's losing Anakin no matter what she does, and her desperation to try to, like, get him to stay and realize his good-natured side, and as she's bringing this one baby into the world that she thought at the time wound up being two. But that, that has to be like an insane thing to do in, this it's a fictitious story, but you're in the middle of this war. You're a main focal point of it, and you're pregnant, but no one's supposed to know that you are. And like that, like, I don't think people like give Padme credit for that aspect of things. They focus on like her with Anakin more so, but the fact that she was protecting her unborn child while at the same time no one's supposed to know that it's Anakin's, like, that's just like the burden that was on Padme through all of that they didn't really focus too much on is just wild. And I think, when people think of mothers, they always think of, once the kid's born and you're raising them, but you're protecting, as Lacey you could touch on, you're protecting this baby in your womb, right? So that's your mother from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, it was just weird for you to say your womb.
Your womb.
It was just weird. Anyway, the Padme thing for me though kind of irks me, and it always has, and it does even more now. And I feel like people are gonna get annoyed with me, but it is what it is. I'm in a different perspective now than I was, a year ago. I think that the thing that bothers me about Padme is she has this relationship with Anakin, which in the movies it is just weird. I don't know if they explain it better in the books, or like in the Padme books they do a better job at that complicated relationship. But in the movies, especially Attack of the Clones, yeah, maybe the Clone Wars, yeah, good point. But in the movies, when you look at the movies, I don't think the chemistry is there, and I don't think it's really portrayed that well. I think it's better maybe in Revenge of the Sith than Attack of the Clones, but with the pregnancy thing, they're clearly so happy and she's so excited, and there are like several moments where she even says to Obi-Wan like she's making the choice for her children. But then at the end of the movie, she dies from, quote, a broken heart and a loss to live. Like, she doesn't want to live anymore. And look, everybody has their own journey and their own trauma and everything to deal with, but if you're going above and beyond to take care of your kids, like John just said, and there's that art that everybody always brings up of Padme with the twins on her back, she's holding knives or whatever it is, like the concept art. Why would she then, once the kids are born, be like, I'm out? Like, that to me bothers me, and it always has, like forever has bothered me, and even more bothers me because as someone who just had a baby, I could never imagine holding or looking at my baby and saying, they're not enough. And I think that's what bothers me about Padme, is that not only did she have one baby, she had two babies. And like the fact that she looked at them and was like, no, but what about Anakin? And I'm like, who cares about Anakin? I'm sorry.
Bad dude.
Like, what? I'm sorry. If I was in her position, like, who cares? Take the two kids, get away. Like, go somewhere else. Like, these kids need their mom. Like, every baby animal needs their mom. So the fact that she's just kind of like, oh, but Anakin. And I'm like, shut up. He doesn't matter at this point. He's out of the picture. Like, all that matters is the kid. And, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's like, Ryan Reynolds made a joke about Blake Lively, about how he's like, look, I adore my wife, but if something ever happened to my kids, I'd use her as a bullet shield, like, to protect them. It's the same thing. Like, once you have a kid, it's different. It's just different. And they come before anything else. And even if that's your husband, your wife, your partner, whatever that is, your kid comes first. And you make that choice when you have a kid. So it boggles my mind that she had these twins and we're like, I'm good. Nah, dog. Like, I'm out. And like dies. Because these two babies are like these adorable babies that need their mom. And then they end up separating the babies. It's like, once again, we go back to that tragedy of the mothers in Star Wars, that they just get treated so terribly. And then, of course, we have the Rise of Skywalker, where Rey's mom gets stabbed. Like, it's so crazy. The actions.
Our dad got stabbed too. They both got, yeah.
Yes, of course. But I think there is a different emotion attached to a mother being stabbed in the stomach than a father being stabbed. Like there's a different imagery and or feeling emotion that's tied to those things.
Well, I think that goes
100%.
back to like you tend to think of the mother as like the innocent or the loving
Yeah.
aspect of the relationship. So
Sure.
I think innocent being the key word there is like, I think you said in Star Wars, mothers are, and again, I go back
And
to the
in that
point of, like,
relationship, because she wasn't related to Palpatine.
yeah, I just tend to think like sometimes Star Wars pulls from just storytelling elements that are just
Mm-hmm.
true of our humanity at different states where we're at, how we understand mothers and things. So I think that when you're talking about that type of storytelling being like, oh, what's the most tragic thing we could have happen? Could it be killing this character's father? Oh, killing his character's mother. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and maybe the more tragic thing would be having both parents killed, but wouldn't it be more dramatic if one of them lived? You know what I mean? And so, like, I think like they're always kind of pulling from the same strings of like, what is the worst thing that could happen? And in that case, they end up falling into a lot of the same tropes,
But at the same time, Rogue One is different because the mom is the tougher character and the dad is the more caring, emotional, connecting character with Jin over the
My
mother.
Stardust.
Right.
But-
So you have that father-daughter relationship is the focus of that kind of emotional, loving, like cuddly, I say. Like, like that emotion that you associate with that parent. Like they focus that on the father rather than the mother. So it's interesting you say that,
Possibly.
James.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. I
Because
also
she's
could
always in the
see-
background watching. She's the one that's like, run, Jin. Like she's always like thinking of like, hey, we need to get into action. Whereas the dad is like, the memories she has, this is Jin's obviously perspective. The memories she has of her father are more like the intimate moments that she has with him.
When I think of Lyra, though, I think they
Mhm.
play
Yeah.
into the trope of like the emotional woman.
Sure.
She's reacting to the moment and not thinking it through, which is
Not thinking it
not
through,
necessarily
yeah.
a good stereotype. But I think that when she's fighting emotionally, it ends up getting her killed. And so what Galen learns from that, or has always learned from that, is the more stereotypical father, bury your feelings, don't show emotion, don't pretend that you don't care about your daughter, pretend that you don't care about your family, you're all Empire now. So he plays into that role.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's revealing about the moment when she's watching the hologram is him showcasing that was a front,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that fatherly relationship there,
Mhm.
but I think like they're building up the like emotional mother and bury all your feelings father, but that he doesn't want to be that. He wants to be a good father, kind of thing. So I think that's
Mhm.
what was so touching about that moment. Side note, I think that's one of the most emotional moments in all of Star Wars. I think
his
the
monologue?
music, yeah, the music and the way they're panning in and her reaction to it and everything. I just think all of it hits every time.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what do you guys think about Padme, though? Do you think it's kind of a cop-out that she's just like, I'm dying? Because I just feel like who would give up on their kids, I guess? Especially ones that are just there.
Yeah, hearing it from that perspective is definitely interesting. And I think that part of me has always kind of put a little bit of Padme in the sense of like, it's a tragedy that she is so addicted to this person.
Oh, Anakin, yeah.
Almost like if Anakin was a drug, like if he was heroin or something like that, and it has like, she's lost control and she can't even see what it was really important. Because she's so in love and so emotionally attached to this person that it kills her. And it's like, what? Like,
Well, I have
get over it, kind of thing. It just sucks. She's such a good person, and
Hear me
yet
out.
she's stuck on this person who's clearly bad. I don't think that's the whole picture. I'm just saying that's somehow kind of how I cope with that scenario of like why she dies of a broken heart.
So we talk about her just total, everything I have is completely devoted to him. And we all know that that's a very dangerous thing because, if they were a normal couple and he died, then what is her identity? Nothing.
Mhm.
It was all that other person. So it's always a dangerous thing to do that, even if you love someone more than anything in the world. But the flip side of that, Anakin went to the turn to the dark side because he was obsessed with Padme and obsessed with her not dying and all that stuff. If she survived and had her kids, she would have had to have given them up anyway, because then you would have had this monster, Anakin, who's now this Darth Vader, and those kids would have been in danger.
You don't think she
would
would have
have
gotten
faked her
away
own
with
death.
them? Yeah.
I think she would have done
But I'm
something.
saying either way, like, so I guess my point is, I'm looking at it from a sort of, I hate to say like sacrifice, but she maybe in her heart knew these kids can't be with me. I'm not saying she didn't like kill herself or anything, but she just like sort of
She
gave
gave
up.
Yeah.
But knowing that these kids will never be safe if they're with me.
Hmm.
Because he's so obsessed with me and everything that comes together with, obviously what she doesn't understand is the fact that, Palpatine knowing any offspring of Anakin would be a threat to him, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way out. There was no way for her to happily be with her kid, and then she found out her kids before she passed. So to me, to save Padme as a character, I try to see it as she knew there was no way that she could have been with those kids, and she would rather die than not be with them.
I don't know. I still think
which is
she's
dark,
just kinda,
which is dark as all hell. But
I just still think she's just kind of. I don't know. It's just.
I think
it's
overall,
really hard for me
I'm
to
with
believe.
you, Lacey. Like,
yeah,
I think that
she'd just be like, no.
I think like me and John, and maybe I'm speaking for him too, are trying to,
Makes sense.
cope with the story and try to make.
Well, because
like, I think
Padme's not a
that's kinda
weak
what-
character.
Well,
So
that's what I'm
it's not-
saying. Is like, so
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did? And this is just like, I guess my problems with Padme as a whole. This isn't necessarily this one thing. It's just like, how did she go from being a strong character to being like, okay, I'll date this teenager? Like,
Yeah.
how did she go from that to that? How did she go from that to like giving up her kids? Because I feel like, to me, she's such a strong character that it's against her character that she gave up the kids. But then, obviously, what do I know? It's not my character to make that judgment.
Well,
call,
let
but-
me look. I mean, we're going to be celebrating the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones, but
Mhm.
celebration. But
Mhm.
Lucas didn't do the greatest job of selling that romance to us. Let's be honest. So
yeah. I guess also, again, I just keep coming back to, it's like a big circle. I keep coming back to like, why do these moms keep dying? Like, why
well,
do
sure,
they
and
keep-
it's not just the mom. Mom is like the term, but like
Mother
Beru was
figure,
Luke's
yeah.
mom, Breya was Leia's mom, and they both died too. I mean, Breya, we don't see her die. It's that one giant blast from the Death Star, but Beru, we don't see her die either, but we know exactly what happened to her, like on a very like close level, and that like you're right, like that's brutal. But the one thing I guess I don't really know enough about, and I don't know if they may have done this in comics, and I'd prefer to see it on like live action or even animation if necessary. But I don't think we're gonna get this in Kenobi unless they're gonna give us a lot of Luke. But I want to see more of Beru's personality and how like Luke took on traits from her.
she is more
because
understanding with him. She's like, give him a break. Like, he wants to see his friends, blah, blah, blah.
Luke's
Like,
just not a farmer, Owen.
Yeah.
Like, she knew Luke better than Owen did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if I almost kind of want to see more from Bonnie Pieces Beru in the Kenobi series for that reason. It looks like they're leaning heavily on Owen. I hope it's not one of those like in the prequels where she's just like carrying towels and says nothing. Like I want to see her say like
Putting vegetables into a thing, yeah.
Or like just give me one scene where Owen tells Luke he has to do something with like evaporator, and she just goes to Luke like, go race your ship, go chase the stars, or it's like something like that. Like like in other words, like I know what you really are, are meant to do.
Two forms of parenting there.
That would be
like,
beautiful. And the only you need to spend a minute on it, and that'd be amazing to see Beru have a moment with Luke like that.
I was thinking too, like one of the weirdest disconnects in Star Wars that's like so obvious, but I tend to kind of forget often, is that Padme is Luke and Leia's mom. Like, because there's such a strong disconnect between, like, we didn't have any of that prequel information when we saw the original trilogy, and when we did see them, they were like children, and there's a big gap there. And I'm kind of hoping in Kenobi that there is a little bit of this connect between a child Luke who's, you know, young, and we can kind of see him being raised a little bit more than like, you know, older teenage, almost adult Luke, but like actual more of like a kid. And then Kenobi being from the prequels and his relationship with Padme, you know, kind of crossing over. I hope that, and then Leia, you know, if Leia's in the series as well, like it's one of those things. Like I want to be able to connect these children to their mom, because I forget often that they aren't just like random orphans. You know, it's like I know the story obviously, but sometimes I just kind of forget that relationship there. It almost feels like it would have been, I know Leia's talked about her mother and stuff in Return of the Jedi, but like but it almost would have been really cool to see older sequel trilogy Leia and like a photo of like a royal Padme of some sort, and she could tell Rey about her mother or something. Because it would have pieced together like call back to the prequels, like, you know, I never met my mother, but you know, she was a great person and you can be great too, or something, you know, and it would be like, that's right, that's her mom, you know what I mean? And like actually really putting those two connecting, because the thing in Return of the Jedi, it like doesn't feel like they're talking about Padme at all.
Right. Well, because they kind of weren't.
They weren't. Yeah, I know.
But...
it feels like they're talking about a nurse at like some orphan home who said that was her mother for a while or something.
Well, and any memory Leia has due to continuity has to be via a dream or, you know, a vision or something,
feeling,
because
or a photo.
Literally minutes old when she died. So,
in the Leia comic, she stands in front of a giant poster on Naboo of Queen Amidala.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
And she has her clothes.
Yeah, she's aware that her mother was the Queen of Naboo, but it's like...
And doesn't Leia go to Naboo in the story of Battlefront or something like that?
She does go there. She also does like in the comics, like I said. And Battlefront, boy, that's another one. Iden Versio, her father is the person that leads the command to blow up their home planet while their mom is on the planet. Like he basically murders her. And when Iden Versio finds out about it, that's like the moment she flips and she's like, you were part of this? Oh my God. You know, and she turns to the rebellion. So,
you know, here's one thing we're not sure about, that there's like a really quick line in Solo was Lando saying his mother was the most amazing woman he ever knew.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's such a throwaway, yeah.
Nice.
Now, he said the most amazing woman I've ever known. Like, we don't, is it, like, do we know if his mother's alive or dead? And could we see his mother in the Lando series? Maybe a little mom redemption in Star Wars here? Like,
wow.
I don't know.
I know we talked about Leia. I want to mention this really quick, but something we really didn't talk about is we talked about obviously Ben leaving and turning to the dark side, but we didn't really talk about him coming back. And that's a big, big moment in The Rise of Skywalker, especially when she sacrifices her life for him. Like, that's such a big moment. And I thought, you know, I think...
For both of them.
Yeah, and I think all three of us agree that that was the perfect way they could have handled the whole Carrie situation / Leia situation.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
Yeah, just handling the character in the best way possible. And making the ultimate sacrifice for her son was such a beautiful way to end that character. because
And her daughter
she
in
would
that
do
respect, because she saw Rey as a daughter in a way.
Yeah, I guess. But she didn't really protect Rey. She was saving Ben from Rey.
I think the way
No,
that
she was stopping Ben from killing Rey. He was about to kill her.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking of it a little backwards.
He was like
you're
this,
right.
and Rey's like, "Oh God, I'm dead," and then she like calls out to him.
Right.
it's interesting how they handled that. They gave so much redemption to the mother and the father when it comes to Ben Solo, despite the fact that its storyline, the father was dead, and in real life, the mother was dead. The actor was dead.
Right.
So it's like, what are we going to do with this story? And it's like, who saved Ben Solo? Was it the mother who, gave every bit of her energy to stop
Or
him
the
and
memory
say, no,
of the
stop
father.
this?
Yeah.
Or was it the memory of the father who finally made the moment for him to switch? So it's
Both.
like both. I know. That's what's so good about the storytelling. I'm looking at you, people who don't like the sequel trilogy. Like, it's amazing that they handled that way,
Yeah, that is
It's
a powerful. I'm
both.
glad you
They
brought that
both
up,
saved
Lacey,
him.
because yeah, that is such a powerful moment when she like
Because it
whispers
contradicts
his name
the hey, she sent him away. It's okay, she sent him away, but then she did the ultimate thing.
and
to
like
bring him back.
before that moment happens, we see her walk off away from the group,
Mhm.
and people are like, Beaumont Kin's like, where the hell is she going?
And this is
and-
after he tried to kill her in the previous movie.
Yeah,
He didn't really,
and-
but he tried to.
yeah. She reached out to him,
thought
and
about
then what I love at the very
He
end,
was right there.
and, like she dies, but she hangs on until he goes. So
Mhm.
and then he disappears, and then she disappears. I think that was another really cool choice that they
Because
made.
she didn't want to leave him again.
Or it was almost like she needed to show him how, and like he disappeared, and then she did right after him, sort of thing.
I
Like,
saw it
almost
more
like
of
they
like
went-
she didn't leave him again. She didn't leave him behind like she did at Luke's.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it too. I think there's several ways to look at it, but they handled it really well, and it's a great point to bring up, and a great closure for those two and that family, and then the carry on of that to Rey as sort of the adopted daughter in a sense, and like she called her master, and she helped raise her in the Force in that regard. And Han was sort of like her father, and Leia was sort of like Luke as well. But then Leia was really the only mother she really ever had. Now I'm sure they'll tell more of that story in that year gap. I'm sure we'll get comics on that or something like that to really enrich that relationship. But when they're hugging and Leia says never, don't be afraid of who you are, well knowing what her lineage was, that's a powerful thing too, because she's letting her go the way Shmi let Anakin go, and the way Leia let Ben go. She's letting Rey go off and do what she needs to do, trusting her even though she knows her bloodline, and saying still at the same time, never be afraid of who you are.
Right.
I think it's really powerful. And then saving her while at the same time saving her son's soul. And then you see Rey, a lot of people don't like it, saying I'm a Skywalker, but and there's Leia watching her and giving her that sort of approval, and that we talked about in the found family thing. So there's a lot more examples we can get into, and I know we're pretty close up on time here, but do you guys have any other things you want to throw out here to close out, or are you guys ready to say we'll revisit this? Because obviously there's more probably to talk about, and there's we're gonna meet more mothers in Star Wars, and we're gonna have more characters to talk about. But I always feel like with these discussions we could go longer, but
yeah,
I
think there are 3 mothers that we really haven't talked about that are very important in Star Wars, and that would be number 1, Mother Talzin.
I knew you were gonna. I knew you were gonna say Mother Talzin because I wanted to say Mother Talzin.
All right, Frog Lady.
Oh, Frog Lady.
Frog Lady.
Forgot about her.
And the non-existent mother from the Mortis arc.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a son, a daughter, a father, and
Right.
no mother.
True. Very, very.
Those are my
true.
favorite mothers in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a bunch of others as well, but we'll revisit it. We never close the doors on any of our discussions, so but let us know what you think. If there are other aspects that we haven't had the time to cover, let us know in the comments. But also let us know what you thought of our takes on this stuff and our discussion. Again, we went into it really not knowing how we were going to talk about it, but I enjoyed this. I thought this was a good discussion, and I'm glad to know that it's something we could always revisit. Like I said, as we get introduced to more characters with all the new Star Wars that's coming in the future. So appreciate everyone checking that out. But now we're going to lighten the mood a bit here by heading to our next segment of the day. Lacey, what's up?
All right, guys, it's time for Resistance Transmissions. So this is the part of the show where John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter, and you guys give your answers. The scenario this week was pick any Star Wars character and what the title of their panel would be if they could host their own at Star Wars Celebration. First up is Mello at A Great Jedi. Hey, Mello, how's it going? He said, Governor Sio Bibble and what a communication disruption means. Can only mean one thing. Next is Kevin Lewis at Thrawn Zon Fan. And Kevin said, Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan, we don't like you either. Ponda and the Doctor hurl insults at audience members who ask them questions. It could cost someone an arm. Well done, Kevin.
That was good.
Oh, we don't like you either.
We don't like you either. Next is Adam Odell at Odell Adam. Hey, Adam. He said, join Admiral Piet for his panel on how to get friends killed and influence people as he shares the secret to his quick rise in the Imperial Navy. Bonus Q&A session afterwards for tricks on how to avoid being choked to death by his superior. Next is Mike Ramori at Drum Jedi. Hey, Mike. He said, traps. What are they and how do we identify them? Hosted by Admiral Akbar. Next is Rob Bartlett at RB7Rads. What up, Rod? Rob. Sorry, not Rod.
Rod.
Rob said, rethinking your life. That's a great thing for me right now. Rethinking your life, hosted by I can't read this from here. Alon Sleaze is it Bagano?
Sleaze Bagano.
Sleaze Bagano. Oh, it's the Death Sticks guy.
Yeah.
A moving tale of going home and rethinking your life. Next is Kyle B at Luke's Green Saber, and Kyle said, my journey from Dengar to Rothgar, a bounty hunter's tell-all by Rothgar Dang, sharing all his ugly truths. Next is Brian Ward at Brian E. Ward. What up, Brian? He said, it's Freetown now. City planning and brand management hosted by WK Parts. It's Freetown now.
It's funny. I thought that contradicted canon, but somebody pointed out they showed like in the book in Life Debt, the second Aftermath book, and it very specifically has a line. It's Freetown now. We changed the name and represents the people and all that stuff. It's like I was like, oh man, I kind of thought that was like an issue, but yeah, it's like it's addressed as Mos Pelgo, and he says it's Freetown now.
It's Freetown now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's such a good one.
Unless that was an April Fool's joke that I didn't catch on to.
And last but not least is Alex Zukis at Zubaka. What up, Alex? Who said, how to be the bigger fish by Jacked Fish.
Oh my god.
Now, how did this become the last one? Ridiculous. Guys, thank you so much for your comments. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN and look out for the situation every week, and you could be on the show. Back to you, John.
Top of the show, we asked you to come join us on Patreon and support us. And if you're thinking about doing it, again, thank you. But we have to give out another thank you to existing patrons of ours. Our two top tiers, our generals and spice runners, always get a shout out on the show. And our generals are Carmelo, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Ramori, Matt Heath, Double C Chris, Chris White, Brendan McLaughlin, and Val Trichkoff. Generals, thank you. Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, Micah Harrison, Thomas Hennessy, and Andrew Staley. And a great job by David Probus on your pod race this past Monday. You've all been doing such a great job. And ultimately, most importantly, thank you all for your support and choosing TRB, because you guys are all amazing Star Wars fans, and it's an honor that you've chosen to support us. So thank you very much. Make sure you do subscribe to the show on your preferred platforms. We are free on every podcast platform in the galaxy. Take your pick. I like Spotify, and thank you to everybody who's been rating us on there. We're one of the top, if not the top, Star Wars podcast in ratings on Spotify. So thank you very much for that. And
Crazy.
Apple and such. And of course, youtube.com/Star Wars Newsnet video. Subscribe. We're trying to push to 8,000 subscribers by Celebration. We'll see how that goes. Also, Twitter. We're getting pretty close to 10,000 followers. So if you haven't followed us there, at RBATSWNN. StarWarsNewsNet.com is where you want to go for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You can find me tweeting more often about Yankees baseball, since baseball's back, thankfully. On Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We just put out an episode on Demolition Man, which I didn't love before, but on a rewatch, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin, talking about Star Wars all the time, because that's all I talk about. You're welcome.
All right.
Yep.
James?
Me? I'm pretty simple. I'm the same thing that I've been saying for like 5 years. Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trent.
Pinky in the brain style.
Exactly.
The same thing we do every week, John. Give
Try
our Twitter
to take
handles.
over the Twitter.
Yeah. We hope everyone has a great weekend. Hopefully we have more to share with you about our plans for Star Wars Celebration on our next episode. So we'll see you then, right here on the Resistance broadcast. And as always, we'll see you around, kids.